beautiful seashore. I think she's there.
Yay! Happy to see you, Mel.
Hello. How are you?
Hi. Good.
Donnie.
Thank
So how about if I well, I'm gonna make you host, but do you want like a co-host just in case something comes up, or I mean I'm gonna
Sure,
be
sure.
here, but
Okay. Yeah, I'm at the top of the hill, so I should get decent reception. So
yeah, you look great. It sounds great. I'm gonna go now onto my laptop so I can like really be.
yeah, I was gonna ask how the voice is because I got another set of Bluetooth speakers.
You sound great, and there's
okay,
no
good.
delay or anything. You really doesn't sound good. You sound good.
Good. But yeah,
All right, so flip a coin. Anna, Elizabeth, you guys want to be a co-host?
I'm happy to be a co-host because I know all the ins and outs of Zoom.
perfect.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I love you for this. Thank you.
No problem.
Now I got to figure out how to do that.
All the ins and outs, but I know a lot. I'll put it that way.
All right.
So, as a host, am I host now?
Yes, you're a host right now.
Okay, and I can share a screen, right?
Yeah.
Should I have it chosen beforehand, or?
You should share what you want. You want to have on your browser. So whatever you're going to share, and then if you want
Google Photos. Yeah. Okay.
And then pick the picture you want to start with.
All right.
And then you can be able to share it.
Here, let me test that out. So where's the share screen? There at the bottom.
Green button.
Yeah. Share. If I want to show Google Photos, can I share the screen?
You should be able to, yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have to do some permissions. These first sessions are always troubleshooting.
Yeah, and that's okay because that's good because even like the last time I shared, just like, oh, good. Yeah. See that when Elizabeth said, like I had a couple different tabs open and I didn't realize that you had to actually click on the one that you wanted. So, and you'll see that as you go.
Do you see the photos?
Yeah, I see the chicken. I see the, the trees.
Perfect. And if I play a video, how smooth it is it?
You have to play before you play the video. Share computer sound at the bottom left of your screen. You should see it and optimize.
Did the video play volume or no? Because my Bluetooth cut out.
We did start to hear something.
Okay. I won't play videos because I don't want to risk losing the Bluetooth.
Okay. Yeah, on the phone you do risk using a lot of energy.
Oh, look at the bunnies.
Bunnies are so cute.
Yeah, those bunnies are. I have two bunnies. This one's called Chad because he's the one he likes to hump a lot, so we call him Chad.
Humpy Chad.
And we have two male bunnies. I know that's not how it works, but the bunnies on the right side. I'm not gonna play it because it's a video. My parents ended up getting bunnies because this goes back to the homestead. I mean, I can guess it's recording. I can start talking about it, but
I can stop it if you want me to.
Yeah, we can wait.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
This can be in.
You know what? I just noticed real quick before you do that.
We should wait till people show up.
No, it's okay. Okay, so now that I gave you host, can you see, Johnny, if there's a place where it says to give somebody co-host? Just by, and if not,
how you would do that is you click beside, if you're going to try to make me co-host, click beside my name, and then you should be able to see make co-host.
Got it.
Okay.
You got it?
Oh, wow. Thank you. Okay.
Cool. All right.
Let me go log into my other computer so I can like be on, to see everybody. Right back.
All right. So I made the original start 3:33, but I think it was typed as 3:30, but I'm okay starting either way. So I'm trying to stick with the
3:33. Let's go.
I'm trying to stick with the 3s, the 6s, and the 9s. So
you got 4 minutes to go from what I can see.
Yeah, I got into crypto recently. I finally took the plunge, doing some trading with crypto coins. But yeah, I'm doing. If I see 33, if I see $3.33, I'm going with those.
22 has always been powerful for me.
Yeah. So far it's working pretty good. So we'll see where it goes. Do you guys hear the dog?
It's not very loud.
Okay, good. Yeah, he's all the way at the bottom of the hill. Okay, I'm gonna try on the gimbal. It should flip the camera. Okay. So that's the view I have right now.
Oh, that's beautiful. And did I understand right? You have 350 acres?
Oh, no, God, no.
Okay, good.
63.
Hey,
Which is
that's
still a lot.
a nice number.
So we were looking at anything over 5. That was our goal. But then when we looked at some places that were even 10 acres, it felt small. Like you don't realize 1 acre is almost nothing.
Oh, I know.
But then when we had the biggest backyard in the suburbs, we had like a pie-shaped lot. It was the biggest one, and it was 1/4 of an acre, and it felt massive. So I guess it's all perspective on where you are. Because I can't imagine 4 times the size of our backyard.
I
And
think
when you get into
acres is a good number to
when you get into the, I think I've only explored about half of it, maybe even less. But it's a beautiful wooded area. I think I saw Jeremy there. Yep. Danny. Perfect. All right. Okay, well, I think I said 3:33 or 3:30, I'm going to start. So welcome everyone. This is the first attempt at making a dojo related homesteading channel. I've been on the fence on how to start videos for homesteading. I watch a lot of homesteading channels on YouTube, and I didn't want to make the same kind of format where I just wanted something a bit more unique. So with my experiences in the dojo, I figured we would go with the theme of homesteading with vitriol. Also how to get into homesteading. There's a lot of things you encounter. How to keep one foot in Babylon, so to speak. Because as it stands, like I'm not an off-grid type of person. Maybe I will be if society changes, but right now I need certain things, especially having a family. 4 kids live with me. The oldest daughter moved out with her boyfriend. So we have 5 kids, but 3 of them are biologically mine. 2 of them are from my wife. So that's it's like a blended family. So anyways, where I'm at, about, I'd say 3 years ago, I was sitting at my desk job. I'm a tooling engineer, a lot of overtime hours, sitting, staring at a computer. And they just keep asking for more and more overtime hours. And the only advantage I had with working overtime was there was slightly less traffic when I had to drive home. So I sometimes took it, oftentimes I took it. But something deep in me was like it was missing nature. I always loved camping. I always loved going on hikes. Didn't do too much hiking, but a lot of camping. And my parents ended up getting a cottage north of Toronto. Not too much land, but it was close to Wasaga Beach, which I grew up in the Toronto region. And Wasaga Beach is like the resort part of Ontario. A lot of cottages, beautiful white beaches. And just going out, it was basically, we were a weekend, connecting with nature on weekends. And everyone from Toronto goes up to cottage country, to the beach. Takes about 4 times longer because everyone goes at the same time Friday evening. Everyone comes back Sunday. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with that kind of drill, but I always felt like I wanted more. I wanted to be 24/7 cottage country. So my wife luckily is on the same page. We were looking for land, but in all honesty, when we first started looking, we were half serious. We were just, oh, this would be nice. This would be nice. But then every single thought, and I'm sure all of you have had it, where, well, what about the kids? How close is it to Walmart? How close is it to a mall? Where are we going to get our stuff from IKEA? IKEA is very far. and then of course, the steady paychecks, you gotta let go of those. So it's not a instant thing. I do appreciate anyone who can do it instantly. And I think it's much easier if you don't have a family to support. But if you do have a family, all I can say is there will be growing pains, but you will have to take a plunge at some time. You can't just keep dipping your toes in the water, so to speak, and you will have to jump into the deep end fairly quickly at one point, which is what we did last, I guess, September, October, right in the middle of the COVID scenario going on. That's word to describe it, scenario. So we did put an offer in on a couple of places before. One of them we reconsidered. The other one we got bid out. And it hurts when what happens is when you find a place you want, and it's very hard right now with the market. I don't know how it is where everyone's at, but it used to be you had about 2-3 weeks to look at it, maybe look at it 2 or 3 times and put in an offer and negotiate. And the longer, in a way, the market being so hot is better for homesteading right now, because you have to go full in. You can't, oh, well, if you wait 2 to 3 weeks, you will find every excuse in the book not to get the place. You're going to start questioning its foundation, the roof, the neighborhood. So we lost a couple of places. We were looking for about 2 years, all over. I was just, before we started recording, I was talking to Elizabeth. She's in Nova Scotia. I was even considering Nova Scotia because the prices in Ontario, the real estate has gone so high, especially with anything with acreage, that trying to get acreage is very difficult. And so a lot of people are moving out of state, out of province. So I was even considering Alberta, I was considering Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, because the prices you get way more for what you get. But everything seemed to line up for the place we got here. Just give you a little shot of the forest. I'm at the top of the hill here. And, over there's one of the 3 lakes that are close by. The boat launch is literally 1 minute down the road, and it's a 3-lake connected by rivers. You can go across all 3 of them. A lot of good fishing. And all right, it's back. And where we're at, we're basically on the edge of Muskokas. Muskoka is what people in Ontario know what Muskoka is. I don't know if Americans are too familiar, but think of the Ozarks. So an area just outside of the big cities, full of nothing but lakes, hills, and trees. That's all we have here, and I love it. But it wasn't the only thing. I mean, I became a lumberjack. I got the shirt when we got here, and I got myself a chainsaw, because depending on what land you get, that's what you should almost cater to the land. It shouldn't be you get a forest and you clear cut it and you start growing corn, right? It's we were looking at places that were mostly farm, a lot of flat fields, some places that were closer to resort towns. Just everything seemed to line up for this place, and we got it at a pretty good price just by the synchronicity with the universe. I think I don't know how to describe it, but I had to bid. I think I said the story in the dojo before, but I'll just say it again here for newcomers. I went to see it. It got listed on Friday. I already heard there was a couple of offers in, so I drove up right away Saturday morning. My wife wasn't able to come with me, but we were both very interested. We saw the thing. We got in touch with the real estate. Our real estate person wasn't available, and we didn't want to lose it, so we went with a listing agent. So we kind of screwed our real estate person, but we couldn't wait. She said, "Let's wait till next weekend." The way houses were going, it's not going to last on one weekend. I don't know what happened with Corona, but everyone's looking for acreage. So I came up Saturday morning. I met with the listing agent. He informed me there was already one offer on the table and two more people that are rushing up from Toronto, and they're serious about putting an offer. It was a bit discouraging because I've lost a few places that way, where I walked away. I didn't want to get into a bidding war. But I looked around and I only had a half an hour. It looked, I've did a lot of rental work, so I kind of knew what I was looking for, but the house looked decent. The land looked very nice, but I didn't explore the land too much. I didn't know what I was getting into. And in the end, we got the place by overbidding, waiving all conditions, including inspection, including septic inspection, electrical inspection, everything, and even financing inspection. What was going for us is it was listed lower than the house we were living in at the time. We were living just outside of Toronto in suburbs, and we got it. So, and the first time I came up with my wife and the kids to look at the place, we did get the feeling, what did we get into? Like, there's no turning back, right? We didn't sell our house yet, and we're like, well, we already put a deposit. We aren't sure. And this is where the doubt creeps in. Well, it was about an hour and a half from our town. So there's travel to consider, especially if you want to keep in touch with friends and family. But on the drive back, all the possibilities started coming together. It was such a quiet car ride, but that night, me and my wife talked about it, and we already had a vision what we wanted to do with the place. And since we got the place, we moved in last October, we discovered stuff we didn't even know. We didn't know it had a creek. We didn't know it had a fresh water source at the top of the hill. We didn't know the foundation of the house was rock solid and there was no issues with it. And whoever had this house before took care of it. And you don't know these things without an inspection. So, but we did take a big gamble. And I think if the market's very hot, you may have to do that. But I was at the frame of mind that if I found something horribly defective, I would just deal with it then and address it then. But luckily, everything so far has synced up. Even the neighbors are pretty good. I was talking to one of them earlier today for about an hour and a half, getting the scoop on everything. He's lived here for 30 years. So, yeah. Now, in terms of adjusting for our kids, I think I mentioned this in the dojo before too. I don't know what it is, but the this COVID situation has been a blessing and a curse. Obviously, nobody likes what's going on, but the biggest issue we had for the last 2 years, because we were looking before Corona started, and I thought once Corona started that we're screwed. We missed the boat. We waited too late. We should have been out of the city already. But what we realized is all the stuff we were looking at before COVID was no longer relevant. We were looking at where the closest hospital is. We were looking at where the closest Walmart or Costco is. We were looking at how close it is for the kids' schools. And with stores being shut down and every kid doing online, I mean, you can put two and two together. That's just, it's almost like the universe just is like, here, I'll give you a hand. Even our biggest fear, we have 2 teenage daughters. How will they take not having, they used to go to the mall often, like twice a week with their friends. Malls are closed, schools are closed. Most of their friends' parents didn't want our kids around because of COVID, or they had a grandma that was living with them and they didn't want exposure. A lot of people are believing this. So this is a good year to start homesteading. I don't know if you guys are feeling this, but this is a pretty good year for it. Just, you will have to jump into the deep end at some point if you are thinking about it. You will have to make do with less. But there's many benefits to our property taxes are lower. We don't have to pay for water. We don't have to pay for many things that were necessity to live in the suburbs. So you have to weigh those options too. You don't need that much to live out in the sticks or boonies or whatever. My brother says, "Oh, you live in the boonies," and he's I know he loves visiting here, but he loves living in Toronto deep down, even though everything's closed and can't do anything. And his only enjoyment is coming up and ATVing in the forest, but he still loves it. So to each their own. I'm not knocking any decision like that. And yeah, and we were looking more to get into farming when we were originally looking. Not like full out farming, but like a few plots. But we've had to adjust. It's a colder climate than I would have preferred, but we'll just have to put money into greenhouses. With animals, it's not an issue. We have chickens. We're sticking to the ones that are good with the cold. None of them died this winter, and we had a couple of very cold nights. And I'll see if I can show you. You guys all hearing me, or did everyone leave?
We're hearing you, Johnny.
Jerry, awesome.
Great,
awesome.
There's like a great baseline for all of us to have. And I just want to second your comment that you're going to have to jump into the deep end at some point. Like,
yes, you know the feeling.
Yeah, I know that feeling of just like, well, the opportunity I've been looking for a couple of years just presented itself. So either jump in now or regret it for God knows how long, and whether there'll even be land left to get in a few years.
Yeah. And I've heard some naysayers too, like she's better now. My mother-in-law, which I was speaking about the dojo earlier when we were thinking of moving, it's such a pessimistic attitude. It's kind of like, what's the point of owning land? The commies will come and take it over and take it from you. And it's like, I was just thinking what Owen Benjamin used to say, you can try. But that's
from my own hands.
Exactly. So it's a risk I'm willing to take, you know. Could I live off grid here? Sure. If society completely collapses, I can live off grid here. Do I want to? No. I'm gonna enjoy, as Noam used to say, the buffet of Babylon whenever I could. But I'm not compromising on certain things like masks or vaccines. So as long as those two things, they're non-negotiable. So that's where I'm at. But yeah, I'm glad you're here, Jeremy. And that's what you want to. Does anyone or Jeremy or anybody else want to explain if they started homesteading or if they're looking into homesteading before I get into my plans and what I'm trying to achieve? Because I kind of got a blank slate here.
Yeah, I'll chip in for a bit. So yeah, it wasn't exactly my plan to start. Nicholas and Will were gonna do their little, their not little, but their big adventure on their own. And they just happened to invite me to come with them, and I said, fuck yeah, let's do this. Like, this is just a once in a lifetime opportunity with people that I know are tribe, that we could have disagreements about many a thing, but still our focus is wanting, like, I love when you were talking about, you got to go to the land and see the land, speak to the land, like hear what it wants from you, or what is going to work there. Because if you're trying to get into homesteading and you think you're just going to, find any piece of land and then you're going to go make your plans fit there, you're just wrong. Like, you might be able to do it, but it's going to be really, really expensive. And so, like, just for us, our first solution, or our first problem, in Arizona is, we got to take care of water. So when we went down there to prepare the land, like, we got some big water tanks, and made sure we got a smaller one so we could take it back and forth to fill it until we get a well. That's awesome. You've got fresh water right there on the hill. Like, that's so crucial. If you're looking, like, that's the first rule in homesteading: water. Like, water, like, before you even care about a structure. Like, I can live in a tent for a while. Like, before you're even worried about that, you're worried about water. You got clean water to drink, to wash, to water your crops. Definitely the first place you want to start. There's nowhere else that your calories are better spent starting off. After that, get into know your area's planting season, what zone it is, what ecoregion it is. Learn what kind of forest or what kind of, area it's called. Like, we live in a pinon, we're going to be living in a pinon juniper woodland, semi-arid woodland. And so, like, what I'm, doing is spending my time looking into, all right, how do those forests work? What's the ecosystem like there? What can I plant around those trees to help those trees? And like, what signs can I look for to know, oh, this is a particularly healthy spot. Like, this is a particularly, damaged spot. And like you said, same as you, we're going to have to put some money into greenhouses. In the beginning of the season, it's not all super important. What we more need is shade cloth, during that first burst of sun energy during the spring and the summer. But to extend our season, definitely going to want to invest in greenhouses. So, just, these are things you all want to take into account. Like, look at the land and just have an honest evaluation of the resources you have at hand, to make sure that when you do dive in head first, like, you at least know you can cover, and honestly, you might not even do that. Like you did, you just kind of had to take it on faith and put a bigger offer on the table and say, nope. Like, and I love that you went there, like, by yourself, like, your wife and kids didn't even come, and you were just like, this spoke to me. I'm putting the offer down. This is where we're headed. Like, that's just a beautiful, beautiful thing to watch, man. And pleasure to be, contributing here with you. I look forward to seeing what your plans are. I really am excited about your lumber mill that you just were bringing back in the trailer the other day when I was talking to you. That's so badass. And the bees, like, I really look forward to that too. That's something that I'm looking into. But yeah, really appreciate all you guys being here. This is going to be a great opportunity to bring up vitriol that, like, some people might not enjoy in the dojo, which I'm taking a little bit of a break from, just until we get this move, settled in, and I get a chance to go back out east. But thanks, Johnny. Yeah, I'll let anybody else that has anything to add in speak up, and I'm sure I'll have more later.
Thank you. All right.
I have a question.
Yeah, Debbie, go ahead.
Yeah. What altitude are you at, Jeremy, and also Johnny? I love altitude stuff. Do you know?
Well, I don't know. I don't know the exact meters for ours, but I am in what's called Algonquin Highlands, and it's actually one of the higher parts of Ontario, with water flowing down to Lake Ontario, over to Lake Huron, as well as the Ottawa River. So in 3 different directions. All the sources are in our county. So that's, but it's not like Appalachians, but it's I don't want to give a number, but I think my GPS said like 390 or something at one point.
How about you, Jeremy? Do you guys know? Nicholas?
Hey, I'm gonna go ahead and jump in. Yeah, we're at 7,500 feet here, and where we're moving in Arizona is at about 6,200, I think.
Wow, I didn't realize it was that high. Yeah, the Pinions, that would be higher up. That's
Yeah.
cool. A lot of pine nuts out there.
Yeah, exactly. You read my mind, Debbie. I'm looking forward to roasting some fresh pinon nuts. Yeah. So yeah, just to chime in a little bit on this, I first moved off grid in 2004, and it was a real it was just a real low budget starter package of going off grid. I had a camper, and I got this 1/4 acre of land out in the middle of nowhere, and I did that for a while. Currently I'm on 5 acres, and I've been living there since 2012, and not really like homesteading, just kind of skating by and, shopping at the grocery store and, growing herb and stuff, but not like totally unplugged, just, but off grid. And yeah, so I've been looking to upgrade that thing, and what spurred me looking for other land is that my land, the well depth is 800 feet, and it's just prohibitively expensive to dig a well. So I started looking, and I found 36 acres in Arizona where it's warmer, and the water is only at 200 feet as opposed to 800. So we're definitely going to have a major upgrade, and it's just in a really scenic area. I don't even know how to describe it. It's multi-hued, and there's great woodlands and just washes and really cool hills, and lots of privacy. It's surrounded by state trust land on a couple of sides, and so there's just a lot of space to get lost and places to explore, and rock formations and petroglyphs and petrified wood and everything else. So it's kind of a magical place. And yeah, so it's the hard part for me, I guess, is just getting this whole ball rolling. There's like logistical stuff, and we're just moving onto bare land. So we're kind of getting things squared away with my old house to put it on the market. And we're just getting ready to next week go down there and do some planting. We have some seeds a lot of people have been giving us. I just got some tobacco seeds last night from a friend of mine. And we have seeds from Danny and seeds from all kinds of people. Melanie. Yeah. So from Melanie. So yeah, we're gonna do a planting ceremony and a fire and hang out and get some stuff going, and then we're gonna leave Jeremy posted down there to be the clan gardener while Will and I do moving and other things like that. So there's a little quick intro to kind of what we're doing, broad sketches. And yeah, thanks, Johnny. I love hearing your story too.
Thank you, Nicholas. All right. Yeah, perfect. I was going to just, I don't know how you synced up, but I was just going to ask Jeremy if he has any pictures he can share.
Yeah, I'm gonna share some more, but
Perfect timing.
So these are posts that Nicholas sent me a separate picture of these, and I was like, dude, I didn't know our property was on Mars. Like, if you zoom in there, it literally looks like something off one of the rover shots. It's, that part is more just some grass there and a little bit of sage, but most of our property is, like I said, pinon, juniper, woodland. So I'm going to try and find some photos that represent that and bring them up for you here in a second if you want to talk about anything while I find them.
Thanks. I was actually going to share some pictures too, so let me see if I can get this going. You guys see these?
Yep.
Okay, so like this is the typical Canadian snow load we get. So luckily I was able to get a good deal on a used quad with a snowplow. And
That looks fun.
Nice.
oh yeah, honestly, I used to get my kids to help shovel, and now every time it snowed, it's like, where's dad? He's having fun. And I would do everything. I would be out there for 3 hours and just I don't need their help for this. This was I think I was a snowplow driver in a previous life or something. And then these are the chickens I have. We have 16 chickens, averaging 14 to 16 eggs a day. So almost one a day each. Half of them they're called red sex link. It's a mix between the white leghorn and the Rhode Island Reds. And then the other half are pure Rhode Island Reds. And they're egg layers. They're not for meats. I am going to get some Cornish. I'm looking into meat birds. So that's one thing. I'll talk about it later in terms of what activities I'm planning on. We'll have separate streams on that. But basically, I didn't know this, but chickens live, especially Rhode Island Reds, they can live to 5 to 7 years, and they lay 330, something like that, eggs per year each. They're okay for meat if they get old and stop producing, but it's good for soup, not really anything else. But in terms of meat birds, they only live about 10 to 12 weeks before their body is bigger than they can handle, and then they die of heart attack. So I don't know, there's certain breeds like that. And we're thinking of getting about 20 of them and just processing them afterwards. So I'm gonna make sure the kids don't get attached to those. But my kids love these egg layers. So made nesting boxes out of old milk crates. They kind of taken to that pretty good. I added a little roof panel at the top so they don't sit and drop things on the eggs. Right. Can you guys see these still?
Yeah, we can see them. I
Okay.
shared give you a more kind of accurate view of the property. There's some more of the heavily wooded area that's there in Arizona. But yeah, we could see everything that you were posting up, and that's
Perfect.
we found out. We met one of our neighbors who happened to come over and ride by on his ATV and just introduce himself to Will one day while me and Nicholas were out, and he came back again a couple days later to share with us and to kind of welcome us and meet us. And turns out he's a mechanic for everything from small engines to diesels, and like we have a big diesel, so that's really synchronistic. It's also synchronistic that like one of the first things we're going to do other than plant is, like you're talking about, get chickens. And he got, like, during COVID, he got another a bunch of chickens with his wife, and turns out like all of them, none of them died. All of them are laying about an egg a day, like you're talking about, and they all, without needing to be taught, learn to roost and nest themselves. And so he said, when we get packed, there's going to be a bunch of chicks that'll be finished, and we're welcome to as many of them as we'd like, which is awesome. It just, everything is lining up here with us too. And I think that this is a time where a lot more of us, we're going to see more than just me, you, Nicholas, Will, and I'm sure there's a lot of people here that really have had experience doing this for a long time that just don't get to bring it to dojo. Here's a particularly magical rock at the base of a tree in a wash on our property. If you guys can see that, I don't know if it's sharing. Doesn't seem like it is on my end.
No, I think you have to double click. No, that didn't work.
Yeah, hold on. Let me bring it up again here. Yeah, there's like a gate from, it appears to be an old cattle ranch area, like the entire area that we're in, not just our property, but all the properties around it, is like an old gigantic cattle ranch. And so there's lots of like sign of that there. There's actually a lot of pinon pieces of fencing and like wire laying all around that we're going to rehash and use what we can out of. You know, like there's an old gate that you can see that's right by the wash on our property, and about 10 feet from this is the wash. So this old cattle gate obviously became obsolete at some point because it led right into a wash, which is not what you want to do with your cattle. I'm going to bring a couple more up here for you just to kind of show you the lay of the land. Oh, this is a particularly beautiful, I think, barrel cactus that's on our property too. Right, it's like dead center in a circle of pinon trees, which is, it's a magical spot. And the first picture I showed you guys of what looked like those hills, if you keep up those hills, it looks like ruins. Like it straight up looks like it's an old, you know, settlement of some kind. Just really, really awesome vibe to it. Found a lot of really, really cool like stones, and I'm willing to, a lot of old pottery as well. Found quite a few chunks of old pottery, some like bones that look like they might have been cleaned by tools at some point. So I'm sure I'm going to have some awesome stuff to bring to you guys and show you as this develops and we really get to explore the land more. And yeah, just like Nicholas said, shout out to Danny and Melanie and you know, everyone who's given us seeds and just all your, you know, support. I really appreciate you guys. But you're welcome to the floor again, Johnny, or if anybody else has anything to bring to us.
Thanks, Jeremy. Yeah, speaking about magical spots, like that's one thing. It takes a while to explore 63 acres. I was saying before the show started, maybe earlier, I don't know. I've probably only really explored 1/3 of it. Like I know where the property line is and everything, but there's already a few spots where are magical. I don't know if it's magical enough to be buried in yet. Well, that determines to be seen. But here's one I'm gonna just show you. This is kind of like, let me just flip the camera. So this is the kind of the hilltop. I'm in the process of trying to, like, I do want to be a caretaker of the land. It's very overgrown. And I do want to be basically a eugenicist of the forest in terms of anything that's sick or it's not going to survive. I will clear it up in certain spots and I will make several trails just to make it accessible. Because I'd like to have the ATV trail come up to this area because there is actually, the creek turns into a small waterfall over there. And there's a beautiful dark forest full of massive old hemlock trees. And so a little bit of a swampy area, that's where the water source is. And it's just such a magical spot of the property. And you have a nice white birches right in front of it. This forest is basically untouched. Now, like you said, and you have to, oh, there's a chipmunk there. In terms of wildlife, I don't think I shared this in the dojo. We are close to Algonquin Park, which is a massive, untouched part of Ontario, open forest. So there are wolves and moose and deer in the park, black bears and whatnot. But usually you don't hear about wolves. And except the very first night we moved in, the very first night, there was a howl and I had to go to YouTube. I've never heard a howl like that before. And it was a wolf howl and it was magical. And it was like, he was letting us know. It was off in the distance, but that was the only time. So, I mean, we have large dogs that bark a lot, so they tend to keep to their own. But I thought it was very special that the very first night we heard a beautiful howl. luckily there's no coyotes around, or any other what you would call like nuisance pests, that they could go after your chickens, stuff like that. You do have to be concerned of that. I am going to be putting up fencing, so I have some on order. Do you know what kind of chickens you have, Jeremy?
No, I don't remember what kind of chickens that Corey said he had. He said they're really well known for egg layers as well. I don't think they're meat birds, but I'll have to figure that out when we go back, because he did tell me the name, but I cannot remember it right now. And that's pretty funny, you saying that you're basically going to be a eugenicist. Here you are, being like Bill Gates. I mean, you're just embodying it.
I know. Let's not mock eugenicists. Like, some forests need it, and I kind of see it's, in a weird way, it's given me compassion towards Bill Gates and others that are running it, because if you don't maintain a forest, you will get disease. There's certain trees that just simply won't get up to the sunlight there. And, I'm not saying I'm gonna just along the trails, deer, for example, seem to go to the parts of the forest that are more well maintained. They don't like the bushy part of the forest. And I just want like accessibility. My kids love going to the forest, but we have some trails, but I do want at least around the perimeter of the property. There are a lot of hunters in the area, so I already started putting up some signs. I don't want anyone coming and hunt on our land. I don't plan on hunting, although I'm not against it if it came to survival, but I don't need it. I mean, it's fascinating. I read up on the native tribes that were in the area, and there's some that through winter they ate bark, white pine bark and birch bark to survive. And you gotta go with what nature gives you. I love mushrooms, and from the looks of it, there's going to be a lot of mushrooms in this forest, although we kind of moved in after the mushroom season. This is the untouched part. It's mixed. It's mostly, there's a lot of oak around here, a lot of maples. I'm sure you guys heard about my story about trying to make maple syrup for the first time. But there is a planted forest, which I'm okay using those trees for the sawmill. They were all planted in a row. There's not much biodiversity there, and it's all red pines, but they're almost fully mature. And it's closer to the house, where we could, once it's cleared or thinned out, I was gonna have livestock go into the forest and chickens. And I got a book about homesteading on a woodland area, because it's kind of different than we were planning on. So the idea is you can have your chickens and hogs and even sheep. There's certain breeds that do well in a forest environment, but you have to rotate them around so they don't destroy the forest floor. So you see the message, Amanda. It's I'll post on Dojoearth. I think it's literally called Woodland Homesteading.
Hey, Johnny.
Yeah.
There's a lot that I have been wanting to kind of chime in on about, and you're talking about thinning, and I think that's a good area to chime in. And just what I've always been led towards is less is more, but that's not quite the right way to say it. Is just being really careful in that process, because these are, especially, and it sounds like you're in the right track, like you want to just create the space for the grazing animals. But I would not over clear an area. I would leave your, what you think about, like these are your climax forest. These are the trees that have been on with the land for what, 70 years? I don't know, what is mature, 50 years, maybe something like that.
The thing is, the red pine it's more It's not a natural species in this part. It's planted for commercial purposes. They're all planted in a row.
I've seen
So
them
those
in northern Michigan. That's kind of my
Yeah.
references I've
So
seen with it.
there's a few white pines which are ancient. They look 300 years old. I'll never touch those. And I wish there was more white pines, because that's what should be more in this part of the area. But someone planted about 12 acres worth of red pines in one area. I don't plan on getting rid of the 12 acres. I'm just saying that's what I'm going to be using. And in terms of like, I need firewood too, so I'll be very resourceful in terms of what to use. There's no cedar, and I need to build a lot of fencing. So I was trying to see what I could use around here instead of a cedar. And there is a type of tree that's an understory tree. It's a type of ironwood, but it has the shaggy bark. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. Hop hornbeam. They grow straight as a whistle, and they're pretty durable. And they happen to be in the path of where I want to have the trail going up the hill. So those ones will be thinned out. They don't ever grow past 30, 40 years. So they're kind of the understory of the forest. But in terms of like the oaks and the maples, unless they're diseased, they're gonna stay. But yeah, I hear you. I've had mixed feelings about it, because I do respect the trees and I want to work around them, but at the same time, they are a resource, and I'm viewing them as a resource, but not clear cutting. I'm not a fan of any clear cut area.
Yeah, that's all I think I was pointing at, is the clear cutting is the most devastating thing. But just that there's a natural, I mean, so because I think the concept of being that eugenicist, I wouldn't frame it that way, but I think there could be a lot of vitriol behind that could fill a lot of these kinds of dojo spaces. And the way that I frame it, in terms of kind of the woods that you were pointing at, and how it is a necessity. I mean, okay, it's a necessity if you want a balanced ecosystem to come in and do that kind of thinning. And what people forget is that we used to have very large mammals, grazing mammals, the elephant, mammoth kind of animals, that was their role, is they knocked down all these little trees, and then the one that didn't get crushed kept going, right? But that there were these bigger impacts happening on the landmass. And so because we've killed all the predators, basically because we've killed all the wolves, we killed all the mammoths, like we are the top predator, and we now have to fill these niches that were filled by these other animals. And I'm sure like a lot of you have probably seen there's like a little video about how the wolves saved Yellowstone, and there's another kind of similar topic on how blue whales are, or how whales maintain the ecosystems of the oceans. And it's all about just these massive impacts and how they have this rippling effect. So with the wolves in Yellowstone, wolves are there keeping the grazing animals packed close together and on the move. And when you don't have wolves, they just graze willy-nilly all over, and you end up with erosion, and you end up with a destabilization of the ecosystem. And so again, it's like, because we've taken that that aspect out, the wolves out, and we've removed the natural mechanisms that were there to lead towards that climactic expression of abundance. And so now we have to step in and to play that role. And yeah, I love going into a space and looking at the trees and practicing that observation, that witness of which tree is going to survive, what here is going to make it. And we don't always know the answer, but we really do have a good ability in that regard to see the future, and to use what we've learned to say, okay, this tree is being shaded out by these other two, and it's not going to make it, so I can come in here and I can cut this out, mulch it down to the ground. It's going to feed the fungus, feed that neural network. It's going to helps hold moisture in the ground. But basically, it's like we are accelerating that natural process that nature is, that cycling process. And so people just forget that what we see in the world today is not how things have been when there's been that immense abundance of life and productivity. And just another quick thought with Jeremy and Nicholas's project, just looking at it, is and this is kind of based on what I've seen in some videos and things, but I think one of the first things you guys could do that would be a huge benefit is just try and bring some beavers onto your land, and they will make the dams in the washouts, and they will start bringing that water back onto the land. I've seen videos of similar areas, I think, to Jeremy and Nicholas, of that process really revitalizing the land, because that's going to take a lot of work based on those pictures. That's, yeah, anyway, so that's something that I would throw out there. And yeah, that's all for now. Thanks.
Thank you, Danny.
Thank you, Danny.
Interesting idea. And once those washes are full, I think that might end up working. And another thing that I learned kind of recently in looking into how pinyon juniper like woodlands work, I was kind of surprised to learn that like a healthy pinyon tree, and to some extent juniper trees actually have like 15 to 30% dead wood on them. They're not just, full, bright, vibrant green. And so it was a learning experience for me to realize that like I may not want to prune every last one of them and take all that dead wood away. It seems to be a kind of part of the cycle of that particular woodland, that there's just going to be dead wood there. And while I do want to do my best to clear any fire hazards, especially stuff around the ground, like the stuff that's still attached to the tree actually provides crucial like habitat for certain insects and birds of the area to make their homes in. So just putting that idea out there for others, like if you're looking into, the habitat you're living in, don't just go in there and clear all out. Kind of just reinforcing the same point Danny made. But thanks, appreciate it, Danny.
Yeah, and I totally hear you guys. Like this is, let me show you one example of like what I would like to spot in the future and maybe selectively thin out. There's a lot of this happening in the forest, where if a sick tree, a large tree comes down, it just crashes through the forest. This one's actually a smaller example, but there's some large maples that come down and it literally takes out about 5 to 6 other trees as it comes down, or damages them. Definitely. And if you leave these logs around, it just invites like porcupines. I know, like having dogs and kids, like I don't want to attract porcupines. So I don't mind it deeper in the forest, but along the, say the edge of the hill and where I'm going to have some trails, these are the kind of trees I'm going to clear out. I'm not going after every sapling. That's not my plans, but I'm also seeing which kind of trees are good for harvesting for firewood, because I'm not going to be selling firewood, but I need firewood for heating the house. We got 2 fireplaces, and I hate cutting oaks and maples, and even though that's the preferred firewood in our area, I'm going to go, there's a lot of aspens, and they seem to be the ones that are spreading through the forest the most. And I also heard that aspens, they can have a 6,000-year-old, or not 600-year-old root system, even though they only live about 50, 60 years. So if you cut them, and that's in that book, it was explained that if you cut it a certain way, it'll just keep growing from the same root system. So the tree will just keep replenishing. I don't plan on uprooting anything like that.
Those are a favorite food for beavers because of that reason. They'll eat them to the ground, and then they pop right up with another shoot.
Yeah.
So yeah, the poplar is an aspen. I think poplar is the bigger family name for aspens or something like that. But yeah, they do that.
They're not very good for firewood, but they burn. It's not the best BTU rating, but as long as you split it right away. So I got myself a log splitter. they rot from the inside out, so you have to split them right away to let them dry. You can't just let them sit. But Anna has her hand up. I think that's. Can you go ahead, please?
Yeah, hey Johnny B.
Hey.
Sorry I was late coming, but you really said a lot of kind of what I was gonna say. Just a little bit about harvesting the wood and leaving. It's like a really hard dance to do, and I personally don't, so I don't have the experience, but you know what gets caught up and what, you know, you have a jumble of mess of wood that will naturally dry because it gets the air underneath, and then you have the wood that makes it to the ground. And I've always just thought, you know, what makes it to the dirt becomes the dirt. And I feel like there is a benefit that we need to hold to harvesting and helping the forest in a beneficial way. So, you know, I wish you great luck on that venture, because it is kind of a hard, beautiful dance that we do with land. And since we have so many people here that I know have lots of knowledge, I want to ask a question, and I would like to dip into everyone's experience, if that's cool. So I have a driveway and I'm gardening on concrete this year. I normally have 2 ground beds and then I do pot. So I've made raised beds and then put liners in it, and I'm filling them now. And here's like one of them. So here's the bottom. I've just put like organic matter in it. So I guess I want, like, who has grown on a big slab of concrete and what kind of experience or advice, I guess you would have to, if anybody has anything to share on that subject.
Thank you, Anna. I don't know much about this, but if someone else wants to jump in, I see Jane saying straw bales. I don't know if that's for yours.
I can share, but my question is, why? I see the lawn. Why aren't you growing on the lawn?
Well, I have lots of trees. Lots and lots of trees, and my yard gets lots of shade. And
well, if that's the way you're doing it in the raised bed, it looks like you're doing fine. And just so you could do, you have that organic matter at the bottom, which is kind of like an inversion of what nature does, but it also serves the purpose of, it's just a sponge layer, right? It's holding moisture, but it's also going to hold different biotics that are going to serve your ecosystem. But then, so on top of that, it's really, I personally always go with like what is cheap and free around me. So like if you wanted to dig, you could dig a little whole pond somewhere on your property and use that, or otherwise just I would use like mostly, just topsoil, and then you dress it with compost on the top. That's kind of, that's what nature does, right? You have your topsoil, which is like your loamy substance, the sand and the clay, and then combined with the microbiotics. That is what makes soil in my mind. The difference between dirt and soil is just that soil is living. And so your topsoil is just mostly mineral, but has that organic matter. And then on top of that, you put the very much organic matter stuff, the compost kind of stuff. And it just depends on what you're growing, because tomatoes and things like that are going to want more of the nitrogen rich organic matter, whereas I don't know, radishes don't really care. They're just like, give me some dirt and I'll grow. So it's, I would just look at it as an experiment. And I personally don't like to spend too much money when I'm experimenting. So, there's lots of, you could get bags of leaves and also put them on, well, you wouldn't actually want to put them on. Anyways, it looks like you're doing great. I would just add some soil and you're good to go. I don't know what else you were wanting to know.
Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely just an experiment, because a lot of the stuff I've gotten free. I really, honestly, I've only paid for the liner and some screws, really. That's what, and oh, you scared me. Okay. Okay. And we'll wait for Dax. So I'm just trying to, it's an experiment of companion planting and an experiment of filling it with what I have, really. So yeah, that's just where I'm going with it. And like, for example, what the plants need for what soil they need. And I'll have one bed with strawberries and asparagus, which needs different soil than the tomatoes and everything. So yeah, it's definitely an experiment, and we'll just see how it goes.
Just something that might be useful is if the liner is totally sealed, you might want to poke like some drain hole. It's not totally sealed. Okay, as long as it can drain. I mean, it's okay to hold a little bit of water at the bottom, but yeah, you would want it mostly drained.
Permeable.
Okay.
It's like the permeable landscape. I got like the good landscape stuff. Yeah.
Is there $13 in the car?
Yeah, you can get the. I'll read the chat if there's anything I haven't seen yet. Sorry.
I think Jane's hand is up. I don't know if it's for you. Go ahead, Jane. Jane, are you there? Jane?
You have to unmute, Jane.
Sorry. We've been using the straw bales for a few years now. And I sent a picture of it on Facebook, but you do have to wrap them to keep them from crumbling down. But you fertilize the bales for 12 days and water the fertilizer, and then they're ready to plant. There's a lot of material you can learn about that online or in a book. And we find that it's real convenient to grow in the straw bales, even though we have plenty of land to grow. We grow on the land too, but it would be good, I think, on concrete, or if you don't have good soil to grow in. That's just a suggestion.
Thank you.
Probably relevant to me as well. In certain plants that might not like the super sandy clay soil that we have, a straw bale might actually be a really good option. So thank you.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. I wanted to just give you guys a layout. Like, there is some cleared area, and I do plan on maximizing that before anything gets thinned out, but let me just share this. Okay, so this is looking back. The house is to the bottom of the screen. Would you see the shed? The first shed here is the chicken coop. It's taken with a drone that I had to return to Amazon because it doesn't like to fly too straight. But this is the hillside where I do plan on, it's all sumac bushes that spread through. This is where I'm gonna have either regular greenhouses or earth sheltered greenhouses, because it is a bit of a slope and it is south facing. This is the area that is gonna be mostly fenced for our dogs too. My wife
sandy
has
soil, Johnny? Is it sandy soil?
Sandy soil, but near the top, it's better soil. And at the top of the hill, that's where my wife will make all her gardens. And we have to protect the gardens from the deer. So, and it also retains our dogs. And this forested part in between the two clearings is where the creek runs down. And our dogs love to go into the creek, drink from it. It's pretty nice there. And then this extra shed back here, it's just this storage shed, but we're planning to make that the goat house. So when I say I'm getting goats, like, they will be on the cleared area. I'm not gonna let them rummage through the forest. I was thinking of letting the chickens, because the chickens are contained in just one small area. it's hard to free range them here because of all the hawks and large predators. But I was thinking of having them go into the forested area next to them. They can go into the creek and stuff and get some geese as well. And then this is a private driveway we have that goes all the way to the back. And the back field, it's all clear too. This is going back to using the land you have. They used to be a sawmill in this area. And the forest, the dark forest on the right is all the red pines in question. And the natural forest is at the top. You can see the natural forest. I'm broadcasting from the hilltop up here. But here on either side of this clearing is all the planted red pines, which it really doesn't add to the biodiversity much. And it's if it doesn't get cut down, it'll just rot away. They're getting close to the end of life. So there is a nice concrete pad in the middle of this field. And let me just, how do I unshare? Okay, so there is a concrete pad, but I purchased a sawmill. I'm going to be posting some pictures. I'm going to be starting to set it up this weekend. Price of lumber has just gone through the roof, and I do have plans to build some outbuildings and some animal shelters. So it's going to be used mostly for that. But yeah, that's kind of what I'm envisioning. And the bees would be in the back with the forestry. Going to have some beehives. All right. I'm not sure who's next, Amber or Mark. Can either of you jump in?
I just had a quick question. Can you access that stream and utilize that slope to set up some sort of gravity fed water irrigation system?
Yeah, we actually discovered there is a well right next to the creek, a dug well that is gravity fed to the house, but it's not being used because now there's a new drilled well closer to the house. So I can easily divert the dug well for the planting. So that, yeah, that is the plan. Good question.
Cool. Cool.
What is your change in elevation, Johnny, on the property?
I'll have to get back to you on that. I'll check my GPS. So, I mean, it's a good drop. I mean, I don't know. Let me see if you can see the clearing or not from here, but. So that dark green area is the red pines. So that's about. It'd be good. I have plans to make a personal ski run because our ski hills were closed in Ontario due to COVID. So I'm gonna make my own ski run down that hill for next winter. So, Mark, did you want to jump in or did you put your hand down?
Yeah. Thanks, Johnny. Thanks for doing this today. Really appreciate it. Just thinking, wow, that was definitely the universe smiling on you. You didn't even know you had a fresh water supply, and there it was for you. You know, that's something that's on the top of my mind as I've been standing on the edge of the pool waiting to jump in. I look around for either a well already dug or something close to an aquifer. And I guess I was just wondering, you know, it seems like your options are either you got a well already dug, you know there's water underneath there where you can dig one, or you know some kind of other source, river, creek, or something that's suitable to drink. Or I guess I was wondering what Nicholas and the guys were doing with their storage tank until they can get a well. You have all these different options. I guess I was just wondering what was your plan if you didn't have a fresh water supply, did you know there was access to municipal water, or just something that's on the
good question. I know it's usually on everyone's top list, but like if you're familiar with the area, like Ozarks or Muskoka, like all we have is lakes and trees here, nothing else. So even if you don't have a source, or if you don't have a creek, like our house well, it's a drilled well close to the house. I think it's 200 feet, but the water is almost to the top, so it's very good flow. It's just saturated here with water. But yeah, every area is different, but we're okay where we are at.
And for us in Arizona, for the meantime, until we have a well dug, yeah, it's about a 12-mile drive to town where we can fill up, or there's also a community well in the ranch community that we're in that we can take. I think it's like 500 gallons a week, so not super huge amount, but we'll use that resource. And if we need to get any more on top of that, just the drive into town's really not that much farther as far as mileage, a little longer just because the roads, a lot of dirt roads out there to get to. But in the meantime, I think we've got a 1320 or something like that tank, and then a 330, go figure, a 330 gallon tank to put in the back of the truck and fill up. So for right now, that'd be what we're working with, and going to set up some drip irrigation, and that's the start of it. But yeah, well, definitely is going to be crucial in the long run to getting that land back into holding more moisture overall, along with some techniques of covering the ground. And I'm sure Danny's going to have more to put in on this too as we go. A lot of you probably will. So just to answer your question, Mark.
Jeremy, are you guys going to do any rainwater catching?
Yeah,
Johnny, I'm sorry, Jeremy.
No, I was thinking about that. Basically, if we're going to do that in Arizona, there's really just the monsoon season, like the rainy season. That's a very small period of time. So if we were going to do that, it wouldn't, in the long run, make a huge dent. Like we would get a couple of fills off it. Like we'd have to set up a lot of like rainwater catching stuff, and then it would only last so long, because there's really other than the rainy season, there's really not enough to amount to making it worthwhile the rest of the year. It's going to take up a lot of resources and a lot of space on the land to create that for kind of a limited return as far as precipitation throughout the rest of the year. But it might be something that I buy, just a little bit to see how it works and see what we can get out of it. But nothing I'm going to invest heavily in at the start for sure.
Thanks, Jeremy. Debbie, you have your hands up. You can speak up if you want.
Yeah, I love talking about the weather. So do you get snow at all? Are your temperatures down below freezing at any point in time? You're up pretty high there, Jeremy.
I figured it was for Jeremy. We're okay with snow up here in Canada.
I seen yours. Yeah.
So it is an area where we do get some snow. It's not enough to really, the land is so dry and it gets so warm when the sun comes out that basically it will snow occasionally, but really it's nothing that really ever lasts for more than a day, maybe two. It'll just melt right back off. I think the last time when I looked, I want to say that average throughout the year, out of the 20 some inches of precipitation, I think it is, that it was like 3 was snow. So really not much. Definitely got more in Delaware where I was from.
Yeah, so what's the nearest, like if I want to look at it on a map, where would I look in Arizona?
St. John's, Arizona, is the town that's outside, but if you can find it, Woodland Valley Ranch, but it's near, I think you said the White Mountains. Yeah, the White Mountains are like right along the edge of where we're at. We're kind of at the base of those in the valley.
And how about access to the land? Do you need like 4-wheel drive? Are there roads? Do you have to make your own road? What?
So there's some people out there that are driving some stuff that ain't 4-wheel drive. We have a 4-wheel drive or a, vehicle to get in and out. Actually 2. The only real concern is there's a couple of washes that are like over our head height, like several feet over our head height, leading out to the main road. So our kind of scramble plan for now is we have a neighbor that introduced himself that lives up on top of the ridge line. And if it does come to the, he said there's a bridge or over in town that fills up during the rainy season. And one of the people there told us that 9 times in 40 years that the water has come up over that. And that it's at about the same height or difference in height as the washes that are near our property. And so we're kind of betting on the fact that like this year it wouldn't be a major issue, but if we had to, we can hoof it to the guy's property up the ridge line, and said he's more than willing to make sure we get what we need if that was the case. But I really don't think it's going to be an issue with the vehicles that we have. Unless it's like a record bad year, I don't see us being stuck for maybe more than a couple days, which we're always going to have supplies on hand to make sure that we'll be able to weather that if that occurs.
I was mudded in the winter of 2005 in northern New Mexico. I spent maybe 2 or 3 weeks where I couldn't get any of my vehicles in or out, and I packed in and out water and food a couple of times. It was some of the hardest work I've ever done. I'd get home and just scrape the pile of mud off the top of my head and just go to bed. But honestly, I haven't seen a winter like 2004, 2005 since. And I don't know, I've been working on preparing for things, and so I don't know, we're not quite ready for that just yet, but if that happens, we'll be ready for it.
Thank you, everyone. I wasn't sure what the turnout would be. I'm very pleased, and it's beautiful how many of us turned up for this chat here. I think there is a lot to be said in terms of how we connect and what we want from this. I was giving myself an hour. I have some kids down there with their friends waiting to start a bonfire. So, but I really appreciate if someone wants to take over the talking stick for the last 10-15 minutes, the floor is yours. Otherwise, I think we should do this weekly. I'm open if anybody wants to take over certain weekends, because I can't promise I can be free every weekend. I'm sure everyone knows it's pretty springtime is pretty busy for homesteading, but yeah, this
Johnny,
pretty good.
I'd be down to help keep it going, keep the energy going with
Perfect.
this. And
we can have a few more like intro sessions, and just we can leave it open-ended, or for example, if I get my sawmill set up, I'd like to have one where I talk about the sawmill, or when I get my bees set up, I'm going to do a stream, maybe pre-record about bees. But yeah, stuff like that, or any other ideas you guys have.
I'm sorry to jump in, but Danny, where do you live?
I am in Sand Springs, Oklahoma, which is about I'm 20-25 minutes northwest of downtown Tulsa. So it's kind of northeast Oklahoma in general, and kind of on the edge of where it starts getting a little drier, and yeah, a lot of juniper and oaks, kind of rocky terrain. So it's about 40 inches. Sorry, I'm trying to. Okay. about 40 inches of rain a year. So like, yeah, so this is our view. Basically, there's like 1,000-acre trust land that just gets grazed with cattle. There's a big cattle ranch over that way. Let's see. Yeah. So there's downtown Tulsa skyline is there, and then a cattle ranch there, and the cows are kind of grazing all in the view. And then there's also fields in back that they graze in. This is our front yard that'll kind of be more mowed, and the plan is to try and utilize these rabbits and potentially other critters. We have 11 little chicks that are growing.
Danny, I wanted to ask you, I heard you mention the rabbits, the previous dojo. Are you planning for like meat rabbits, or what purpose?
Yeah, well, right now these are rabbits that we are taking good care of and giving a lot of love to, and rabbits multiply. And so I'm just going to go with that flow and, find the carrying capacity of my space. I'll show you again, basically their space. Let's see. Well, I can't go wide zoom right now, but their space is just this kind of front lawn here. And then my garden space is all this way because the house has gutters. And so I can basically catch all the gutter water and send it this way. There's kind of a slope that way. And just because we will have rain tanks, but it'll be maybe on the side of the house there, or kind of out of the view, just because I'm always finding that balance with Jordan, my partner, of she's in charge of the house and the design in that regard, and I get outside and I get the shop kind of thing. But anyways, this is my garden.
I know the feeling. Yeah.
So the garden space goes this way, and then the plan right now it continues down that way. And I just kind of did a Three Sisters with a lot of seed. And this is again just kind of a wild gardening. It's how I have done it in the past few years, and I just enjoy it because I feel like I learn a lot in that kind of a process. So there's corn and sunflower and just lots of different beans and lots of different squashes and melons, but eventually that'll be orchard like fruit trees that are a little shorter, just because we don't want to block our view there, but it'll help slow down the wind for the garden here, because that is an issue. We get a lot of wind coming across the top of the hill here. And I could show you guys more. I don't really know where so yeah, we go down, that's south, and so we get a lot of sun, and there's about maybe half the property is kind of more flat up on this hill, and then the rest of it kind of goes down the hill that way. And there's a potential for a big pond that would overlook the view that I'm excited about. So that's kind of a future plan. And then I'll do rotational grazing in the orchard space, but it'll also kind of continue back behind the shop. So it'll be like a long strip that'll be for, sorry, I'm losing my earbud, but for chickens and whatever else we add to that. So, but yeah, grazing between the fruit trees. This is an aerobic septic tank, which is nice. It just sprinkles on the lawn. This is going to be my chicken coop. So when James was getting all his vitriol, refinishing his bathroom in the basement, or that whole story, it was interesting because I was kind of experiencing a lot of vitriol in a similar way with this thing. It was a camper that I didn't realize that it was so rotted out. I got it for the purpose of turning it into a chicken coop, and it was just so rotted out that I had to reframe all the wood. And so it was kind of this puzzle of trying to keep it in its form, keep it from collapsing, because it's just like a sheet metal, right? It's just a tin can, but not even as structurally sound as an empty Coke can, right? But so I had to kind of, so it was a step-by-step process of holding it together and getting it framed up. And I finally got it framed up, and we brought it up to the hill. So this will be the chicken coop. And I'm thinking it can probably hold up to about 50 birds. And I think that would, we got 11 right now, but we'll slowly expand there. And then this is kind of the backyard space, and the neighbors have a pond there, and then the other neighbors have a pond there. And so definitely there's water. The water table is not too far away, and I want to dig our own. I want to dig a pond there that'll be inside the dog run space. But basically it's about an acre here, a little less maybe, but or maybe, I don't know. Anyways, close to an acre that would be just for the dogs. That'll kind of be our backyard. And then I got some fruit trees there and a little spiral garden there that'll be for some tomatoes and peppers. And this is kind of going to be like my food forest that'll slowly expand out. And I have a lot of seedlings at another property that I want to transplant, a lot of persimmon, and I have some pawpaws. I'm really excited to get those in the ground, although the pawpaws they're an understory tree, and so we don't really have an understory, right? Because the people that built this before we moved in, or whoever managed the land, they just cleared everything, and so we have a lot of these well, I don't know, anyways, we have a lot of old stumps that kind of got bulldozed and burned, and makes me a little sad. I mean, I enjoy our view, but I think they could have left the big trees in the backyard here. But anyways, so that's what I got going on. And yeah, the dogs are my economic engine. The dogs are how I'm paying the mortgage, along with Jordan. She's got she's a therapist, and so we got our things, and I'm just trying to. I definitely still have a foot in Babylon, but I do see myself forever heading in that direction of, cutting that, not requiring that relationship. That's the way I'll say it, is that I don't want to have to, I don't want to have to be dependent on Babylon. So, we got big roof, a lot of roof space for solar panels between the house and the shop, a lot of space for water catchment. I want to put a shipping container kind of wrapping around the shop, and that'll also hold the water tanks and catch the water up high, hold it up high to get a little pressure. But again, that all costs money, and so step by step. Right now, I'm just working on getting this fence put up and getting going with the dogs. I'm getting a bus, to make that a little more efficient. And yeah. So that's kind of what I got going on.
Thanks, Danny. That was awesome. We're gonna have to talk about fencing, because I've got a roll, 8 rolls coming in, so we're gonna be doing that. But I wanted to try to keep this at like hour and a half. I know we could literally talk 24 hours on this topic, so I don't want to make this like a never-ending stream. But I do think we should definitely set up weekly. I don't know if Saturday is good for everyone. Did everyone like the Saturday, or is?
Yeah, I'm fine with Saturday. And
yeah,
Danny left out the part where you need 4-wheel drive to get up to his property more than you do anywhere in Arizona. I could say that for sure.
Yeah.
His driveway's a monster.
Mark, do you have something quick to add before I finish this up? I think we got a couple of minutes. Mark?
Yeah, just real quick. Back on the water and just trying to find a place, helping, anything for the dojo homesteading site, tips on how to search. I'm having a little trouble with that. It's either most comes up with just whatever is available, not necessarily farmland, because here in Texas, it seems like it's mostly ranches. There's, a lot of rocky terrain, not a lot of good soil for farming. So just so much seems like it goes into it. Having enough water, I guess, can you just buy anywhere and just assume that there's going to be water underneath it? I was like, how to, like Nicholas and the guys know that there's for sure going to be water there.
I don't know how it is in the States. I know Ontario has a well record website where you can zoom in. It's overlaid with Google Maps, and you can see any wells in the area, how deep they are, what the composition is. I think it's a publicly stated record. So just check for well records in the state or county.
Cool. Okay. And yeah, I don't run out of time. I guess just since Danny's from Houston, and I just wonder how he selected Oklahoma, and what was, what all went into your decision to choose that area. What was so appealing about it? But yeah, we can talk about it later. I can talk to you on Facebook or whatever. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Mark. All right, I think it's 5 o'clock over here.
There's any number. I'm just gonna. Hey, Johnny, I'm just gonna butt in real quick. There's any number of websites like cheapdirt.com and cheap land websites where you can find listings.
And as far as the water table, Anna offered up in the chat that she has some sites where you can get a similar kind of thing that Johnny was talking about, but for areas in the States where you can overlay and find out the water depth in that particular area.
Or just go to the land and use your intuition. Just touch the trees and tap in and ask the trees. Okay, love you guys. This was awesome. And
yeah,
I think it's
Johnny.
Gonna be, I think it's going to be recorded and shared. I'm not too sure how to do this. Thank you so much, Melanie, for setting this up.
Thank you, Johnny.
Take care. Now,
Thank
do
you,
I hit
Johnny.
end or does? Thanks.
Yeah, you need it for all.
So I hit end? Okay.
Yep.
All right. Bye, guys.
Yeah.
Bye.
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 Thanks, everybody. Love you guys.